Alexander Hammerstone, I don't know why I said it like that. Alexander Hammerstone has requested his release from MLW. It has been reported MLW.
Well, that's because he's made all that money from the ballroom that it bears his name in New York, the Hammerstone Ballroom.
Apparently, MLW is not really looking to release him. They feel they've invested time and energy and, of course, their valuable television time in developing the Alexander Hammerstone character. What do you think his future will be? Will anyone... I mean, WWE's in litigation right now with MLW. I don't know if Tony Khan thinks too well of Court Power either. Is anyone going to want to deal with MLW to buy him out of his contract? Is it worth it for Hammerstone? What happens?
Well, the problem is WWE is going to do no business with anybody connected to MLW. They're not going to do business with the office because they're getting sued by the office, and they won't do any business with the talent unless their contracts expire and they're free and clear completely because they don't want to be sued again. I do not know how much guaranteed money that Corbauer MLW pays the talent that they have under exclusive contract. You don't see Hammerstone working other places, and I guess if it's approved by the office, he can. And we talked about that Jacob Fatu's been under exclusive MLW contract, and MJF was there for a while, but his expired, and at one point, he was working both when AEW first started, but he migrated over.
Yeah,
as I said.
I don't know if it expired. I think Tony Khan had to buy him out of it.
Well, whatever, there was an arrangement made that he was doing both at the start, and then he came full-time to AEW. But the point being, I don't know how much they are, but they're obviously not a lot of money, whatever your scale of a lot of money is. In 2019, when I did that stint for 3 or 4 tapings or whatever as the fill-in color guy for MLW television, there were 3 or 4 guys there that were mainstream major league talents and a few others that had potential. I'm not going to go up and down the whole fucking list. Don't want to insult anybody by leaving them out, but I've said that the main ones were MJF, Jacob Fatu, and Alexander Hammerstone. And then Tom Lawler, he was one of those guys that was still doing MMA at a lower level while he was doing pro wrestling on the indie level. And I think he's been in a lot of silly things and developed some bad habits, but you could produce and market him, if you knew what you were doing, which so far apparently nobody has. But basically the 3 were Fatu, Hammerstone, and MJF, in my opinion, not only from doing color, but also... I was tasked with producing interviews with some of the guys and working on some finishes, some of the matches, and they were the most well-rounded.
If we remember back at the time, there is one other name, Selena De La Renta.
Well, yes, but we're talking wrestlers right now that may or may not get out of their contract.
Okay.
And with Hammerstone, I haven't seen him lately. I haven't seen him in 4 years. I'm hoping that he hasn't had any serious injuries and that he's, continued to progress as far as his in-ring. I haven't heard of any stumbling blocks or he didn't break his fucking neck or whatever. But the clock has to be ticking. I don't know how old he was then, but he's 4 years older. To get into the WWE system, go through whatever needs to be done in developmental in their aspect or their opinion, and get him on the main roster where he can make a difference, clock is ticking. And that's probably why he's seen that whatever MLW is doing with their lawsuits, they've gone as far as they're going to go. And when the number 2 company is fucking tanking and MLW is not even close to number 2, he needs to get out of there.
You could just hope for a settlement is what it is.
Yes. And that's the thing is, Hammerstone, his clock is probably ticking. He'd like to leave. They apparently don't want to let him. I'd like to know what the fuck they think they're going to offer him. That would make it worth the career that he would be having if he was fucking somewhere else. And I don't think he has any legal issues on his record like Fatu does as far as being a stumbling block to do anything somewhere else.
The bigger issue, too, is why would Hammerstone, seeing what was happening in the business a couple years ago, whatever it was, why would he sign a multi-year contract with MLW at that point?
Well, I don't know how he's been signed since 2019. I haven't heard that he re-signed.
I heard there was a renewal a couple
Was
years
there a
ago.
renewal? Well, Court's a very glib individual, and maybe he was convinced at the time and able to convince Hammerstone that he could do something for him. But that's, again, nobody sees MLW because they're not seeing Impact. And MLW is not as big as Impact. And Impact's not as big as fucking, I guess it is technically as big as Ring of Honor, which doesn't even really exist, but it's not as big as AEW. And Hammerstone has the size, the ability, the look, the experience, whatever. He's got a shit or get off the pot, as Mama Cornette used to say, and you can't do it there. He's in a fucking fishbowl, not an ocean.
And it looks like he's trying to do it in a professional way. I have a thing here from Twitter. Sean Rossap of Fightful tweeted out an article. Alex Hammerstone recently requested his release from MLW. Fightful Select has learned. Has a link to an article, but Hammerstone retweeted that. And he said, "My time with MLW was 5 of the best years of my life and career. Very proud of what I and the company accomplished. I wish them continued success. I recently asked for my release, as I feel it's what's right for me at this time. Thank you, Court Bauer, for the opportunities." That's as nice as you could see it, right?
Yeah. And then they say, well, but we're not going to release you.
We're not going to release you so we could run small shows every now and then in Philadelphia. I mean, that's the, on one hand, if you are a company trying to grow, you want to have talent you could build around, you need to sign them the contracts to do that. On the other hand, you can't hold guys to contracts if you're the only ones not facing reality.
4 years ago, they had you could see that there was something going on that you could potentially see developing. They were selling out Chicago and at Cicero Stadium.
And then AEW
for their TV
happened.
tapings.
And then AEW
Well, hold
happened.
on a second. They were doing that, and they had some talent, as we've just talked about, and they had just gotten on BN Sports for whatever that's worth, and the network was happy with them and cooperating, but things were going on. But then there comes AEW, and there comes the pandemic, and there comes all this other shit, and I think the horses left the barn. But, nobody else is probably asking for releases because where are they going to fucking go? But Hammerstone got the potential. He's a star. He would have been a star by now somewhere else where people were seeing him.
If you're a small promotion, especially one with aspirations of having a syndicated television show you can make money off, you need to sign talent that you could build around to be safe. I mean, that's, again, the thing is, they're just the reality. It's not going to happen for MLW. Like, it may turn into something that can make nice money for Court, but wrestlers are never going to make nice money there. There's no path for that.
I don't know if any living right now in modern day 2023 will live long enough to, but.
So Hammerstone's been there a while. Why hold? I mean, I know why they signed him to a contract, and he can't do anything without them releasing him, but at this point, why hold him? He doesn't want to be there. He wants to go do something else. He knows that his time is running out. That's the life of a wrestler.
The clock is ticking. Well, then in that case, maybe something I said, well, if maybe these other guys don't want their release, maybe they do. Maybe he's getting a lot of people asking about releases and he can't set a precedent. Because to be honest, right now, MLW with or without Alexander Hammerstone, I'm sure would continue to exist at about the same level it is. But if he gives Hammerstone his release and he's had numerous other or integral other people say, I want my release, then if he does it there, then he's opened a can of peas. They could potentially even file legal action because you did it for one. How can I be the victim of a double standard? And then his whole thing's gone to shit.
But again, having seen a few MLW contracts, but not having seen Hammerstone's, knowing that he's not making significant income from MLW, I feel is a reasonable thing to say. And if anything works out in WWE, or even AEW, he will make a considerable amount more That's the issue. This is like if Savoldi had guys under contract and wouldn't release them so WWF could take them.
Yeah.
I understand you having guys under contract, but now you're going to get nothing out of it. The problem is the precedent was set with the MLW, with the MJF contract. And that's the issue. But what is MLW? They should let him out of his contract. I mean, it's just they're wasting everyone's time. Why not?
I think they're still hoping that Vince will pay them something to go away.